From getting in trouble for not marking golf balls, to being penalized over the ball moving, even though you didn't touch it. These are the dumbest rules the PGA has ever introduced. Identifying a ball covered by loose impediments in a hazard can sometimes be tricky. Let's say you hit your ball into a bunker but can't find it. What do you do now?
Play the golf ball, if you so choose. If it's too difficult, you have a couple options available to you.
Dig up the sand so you can identify the ball, right? Wrong. According to PGA rules, you have to make sure you cover your ball with sand before you can hit it again. If you fail to do that, you'll be penalized for 2 strokes. That's actually something that happened to Michael Hoey in the PGA Championship recently.
What a good lesson there, Dennis. Comprehensive backswing there, no little short jab.
Yeah.
Pretty weird, right? But probably not as weird as this next rule, known as when to strike a ball moving in water. Let's say you hit your ball into a creek and the ball begins to move. At that point, you're allowed to swing at the ball. But what you're not allowed to do is delay making your stroke. Why? Because that would allow the ball's position to improve, giving you an unfair advantage.
Keep the play again from where you last played from. So I would take a ball and simply drop it.
So while you can hit the ball, it has to be fast. This rule's extremely bizarre because it's just so hard to judge. And if you thought that rule was dumb, wait until you get a load of this one. How about a rule that punishes you for the wind? So your ball's in a bunker, again. But then a gust of wind blows a pine cone right behind your ball. You'd like to hit it, but now you can't thanks to the pine cone. So what do? Remove the pine cone, right? Well, not so fast. Doing so could cost you 2 strokes. If you don't want to be penalized, you're gonna have to hit your ball as it lies.
This knee is in, so I'm inside path, snap.
And believe it or not, that's still not the dumbest rule on our list. Things are about to get even dumber. Did you know that the PGA has a morning dew rule? Suppose you're out on the course early one day. It's a cool, crisp morning and your ball's covered with dew. Your first instinct would probably be to remove the dew, right? Well, not if you want to lose 2 strokes. If you really want to remove it, you're gonna have to do so in the tee box before hitting the ball. And like all the dumb rules I've mentioned so far, this next one penalizes you for something that's out of your control as well. It's called the flagstick attended rule. If you're putting from off the green and someone's standing too close to the flagstick, they're deemed to be attending.
That's right, yes. If you wish to do that, you can ask your fellow competitor or your opponent to attend it.
And if your ball hits the flagstick, yep, you guessed it, you'll be penalized 2 strokes.
But you must remember that if you're making a stroke from on the putting green, that you cannot strike the flagstick.
Even though you're playing off the green. Now, the next dumb rule pertains to playing on rainy days. It's called the bunker underwater rule. If you end up encountering a bunker that's filled with water, you can't remove the ball from the bunker even though it's filled with rainwater.
No nearer the hole. I think that's going to be one option, and then come in this side.
The only thing you can do is move the ball to a side of the bunker with less water. If you remove the ball entirely, you'll have to take a penalty stroke. Crazy, right? But not as crazy as the next rule I'm gonna tell you about. I like to call this one the whose ball is it anyway rule. Suppose your ball has the number 1 marked onto it, and you've hit it into a greenside bunker. When someone you're playing with hits their ball over there too. And as luck would have it, their ball's also marked with the number 1. At this point, neither of you can identify your balls. So what do? Well, according to Rule 12-2, both balls are considered lost, each player's penalized 1 stroke, and both players must play their previous shots. While still dumb, this rule actually makes a smidge of sense. Because if you think about it, you might be hitting someone else's ball, giving yourself an advantage, or worse, a disadvantage. So remember to mark your balls with identifying numbers. Now, the rules I've mentioned so far have been dumb for a variety of reasons, but the common thread here is that they penalize you for something that's out of your control. But this next rule doesn't actually penalize you, even though it probably should. The rule says that if you happen to hit your opponent who's standing out of your way, there's no penalty, and you can replay your shot. Might not be a bad idea to apologize to your opponent though. But let's get back to the dumb rules that punish you for no good reason for a second. This rule covers what happens when a ball that's at rest is moved. Let's say you're standing over your ball, and you're about to hit it, but for some reason, it moves. It could be something as little as a gust of wind or something as major as an earthquake. But the point is, you get a one-stroke penalty, have to put the ball back in its spot, and go over it again.
Furyk wasn't particularly sure whether the ball had returned to its original spot or had still moved away from it.
This shouldn't be the case, because unless you're the one who's moved the ball, there shouldn't be a penalty. This brings us to the next dumb rule known as play as it lies. So you can't touch a ball until it's on the putting green, right? Well, there are exceptions, and that's when the ground conditions are abnormal. This means that if the ground is under repair, this rule doesn't include those sand-filled divots. Another exception to this is the burrowing animal holes rule. According to the rules of golf, this means a hole that's created by an animal that makes a hole for habitation or shelter.
Club length into the hole. So we need to work out, I do get free relief, and I need to work out my nearest point of complete relief.
However, this excludes any holes made by a non-burrowing animal, such as dogs. And here's why this rule is stupid. For one thing, golfers aren't experts in analyzing dirt holes, so how can they be expected to follow the rules properly? So here's a suggestion for PGA rule makers. Include fairway divots in the definition of abnormal ground, and broaden the definition for a burrowing animal hole to give golfers relief from all kinds of holes. Because let's be honest, who's gonna stand there and try to determine if a rabbit or dog caused a hole? This has the potential to create a lot of headaches. So far, I've discussed so many of these dumb rules that I feel like my IQ's dropped a few points. But I'm not done yet, and the truth is, this game's full of dumb rules. Case in point, the ball striking a flagstick rule. You know, the pole with the flag is smack dab in the middle of the hole, that's the flagstick. And it has its own set of rules. There's rules about who can and who can't remove it, and rules regarding when it should or shouldn't be removed. Imagine how quickly you could finish a round of golf if the flagstick could just stay in the hole at all times. I mean, the ball's gonna find its way inside no matter what, so removing it or keeping it in doesn't affect the game in any way. Rules like this only complicate the game. A better solution would be that no one at all touches the flagstick ever. This would make things so much easier. Alright, we're at the last dumb rule. What makes a ball unplayable? This rule has some great options for someone who realizes they don't have the skills to hit their ball from its original position. One option is to replay the original shot, but that's impractical, because it means you're holding up everyone behind you. And the other option is to drop within 2 club lengths. In reality, what needs to be done is that we need to eliminate all bunkers and introduce a one-stroke penalty for moving the ball. So there you have it. From getting in trouble for not marking golf balls, to being penalized over the ball moving even though you didn't touch it. Those were the dumbest rules the PGA has ever introduced.